you should all have one of these cards just to remind us about the meeting being televised and you're on camera, so. Right on.
Can I just say something about that?
Yes.
Make sure I turn that. Just so folks know, we did switch around. If anyone watched the video, we were kind of switching side to side last time. So we made a switch because one of the things was we realized nothing was coming up on the screen was being able to be shown on the video. So we moved one camera that's now behind John Malika. That one is specifically to get what's on the screen, so we'll be able to record that. This one camera does get everybody in one shot though, so everybody's all on the one shot. I just want to make sure everybody wondered, why is one camera missing? It's because we moved it so we could get the screen as well.
Do we have any guests or visitors that wish to be recognized? Not? Any public comment? First item of business will be the approval of minutes of November 4th. We have a motion? So moved. And a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion, any errors or omissions? If not, Julie, call the vote. All set?
No, I need Jay guy. He's not there. I need Shelley. Aye. And Mr. Bouchard.
Aye. Okay. Let's go to the superintendent's update. Mr. Brown?
Done. I need help, Di. Not going anywhere. There we go. All right, thanks. All right, so we're off and running on lots of things now that we're only getting to October. Co-op program off to a really nice start once again. We had spoken with Kim to give us the update. Kim Curry, obviously working with all our vocational instructors to get these students out and going. She had 119 students already out. Obviously those are all seniors. Juniors don't become eligible till January, or technically February. However, she wanted to make sure, she wanted me to tell everybody know that she has 17 students, that they're just finishing the paperwork, so she's going to be up over 130 students already out by the start of October. Again, great work that she's doing. Thanks so much our industry partners, and 2 weeks from tonight, yes, we'll have a bunch of them in for advisory and everything else, so very exciting and continues the good work. Want to highlight one new partnership that Kim was very proud of getting set up. So for health occupation students, Shania, Grace, Katie, and Kaylee, we're part of setting up a new partnership with our friends at UMass Memorial Health. It was kind of an interesting situation that it was four of our students together, all kind of working with the same main department. That department asked them to come over and have lunch with them so they could introduce themselves, get to know everybody in the department. They've already, the really nice part that I kind of mentioned at the end there is that all four of the students have already been offered full-time jobs for when they finish up doing co-op and everything else. So great new partnership, a great example of how the students can transition in, work together and everything else. So again, more thumbs up to the whole team and everything that we're doing with co-ops. Kim doing a fantastic job. One thing we want to let everybody know about, just because there is a big push finally, as those of us whose first year teaching in 1993 was teaching civics. Katie, we're there, man. All right. So So Keith McClendon, one of our history teachers, met with Jen Jourdain, our librarian, and talked about, let's see if we can get a voter registration drive going. And to be honest, when they said it, I went back to when we used to do them, and you had to have the town clerk in the school and everything else. And I learned something, because it has changed tremendously. Basically, the kids can do it online. They can register. If they're 18, they just come in with their driver's license. They can get automatically registered. I also didn't know 16-year-olds can now pre-register, which means they can do the work online, and then the second they turn 18, they're automatically added to the rolls. So we did a whole week of that. We did it in the library. Kids could pop in during lunch, before school, after school. I never got a count of exactly how many kids participated, but I just thought it was a great effort. Really proud of those folks and the kids who stepped up and did register. Speaking of election-related stuff, when I met with John, Tammy and I met with John to go through the agenda, John just thought that it might be a good idea to just mention, or to make sure everybody understands, the one ballot question that does kind of affect us, could affect us, we'll see. And basically, that's question 2, which is the question that talks about, again, the key thing is that whether or not MCAS exam would remain a graduation requirement. This is not about whether or not there'll be MCAS. Even if they vote and this passes, there still could be MCAS. MCAS at the 3rd grade level is incredibly important to get that reading data for those elementary schools and everything else. The problem, I'll be perfectly honest, at the high school level for grade 10, where the kids are a little bit more mature and kind of know what they're doing, if they find out that this means absolutely nothing to me and everything else, could be interesting to see how many, we'd still be probably giving the exam, but how the kids would react could be different, or could be suspect.
I guess my question is, on this whole MCAS thing, isn't part of the problem now that many schools are teaching to the MCAS itself and not getting the well-rounded education many of us are concerned about? I mean, I understand the need to assess our students to make sure that when they graduate, they're where they should be going out into the real world. But I also am very problematic in the sense of teaching to a test. You've seen it before growing up. We take tests all our lives in different professions, and we know that's not very beneficial. So can you elaborate on that a little bit, maybe?
So I can read Christie's mind from here. What I would say is, are there examples across the Commonwealth that folks are teaching to a test? I'm sure absolutely there are. I'm sure there are people who stress, and that's all they're going to focus on. A good teacher, which we have fantastic teachers, ensures that it's not just teaching to the content. There's an entire frameworks, and not everything in that frameworks is necessarily completely applicable to what could be an MCAS. A lot of it obviously is, but we have people teaching everything. That's the goal. But am I going to sit here and say that there aren't situations across the Commonwealth? I think there absolutely probably are. But I think the bigger issue is, when it comes to this, and I'll be quite honest, that the MTA is one of the organizations that are really behind it. Their big concern is, what they talk about is that there are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of kids who aren't graduating because of MCAS. And the numbers don't show that. It's not a lot of folks who aren't. I'll tell you this much, since I've been here, I don't think we've not had a single kid not graduate because of MCAS. And frankly, even when I was over in Leominster, I would say it was a handful at best. I'm talking 3 or 4 kids who didn't, because there's so many opportunities for them to retake the test after if they don't pass it and everything else. And you really target that student. The special ed folks, the tutoring they'll do for those students to get them by and everything else. So the only thing that I would say is that of the arguments that are around there, the idea that it's preventing so many kids from not graduating, I just don't think the data shows that. So.
Just so to recap, you made a great argument,
Yep.
and I love the way you presented it, and you're right, and our school does a phenomenal job of, the teachers do a great job here of teaching our kids what they need to know versus trying to teach to the test. So are you feeling that we should be, maybe saying yes to this only because we don't want to make it part of their graduation requirement, or not? I value your opinion, and
Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm kind of eliciting what your professional opinion is on this matter.
Well, I know. Garrett, am I supposed to be political?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Garrett's shaking his head that maybe I shouldn't be answering that question, but, yeah, I'll kind of leave that one out there. I don't want to be a political person up here, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just say that whether this question passes or not, the curriculum frameworks are still going to be there. So you're going to have essentially, I would think, the same education. It's just that that one requirement is going to be gone.
Okay, all right, so moving on. So obviously, lots going on with MVP. Focus first on the MVP Academy itself. September 9th, the first group of students, seniors, showed up for the first day. Again, electrical within the shop, the electrical shop. Carpentry kids out on the under the new pavilion and under the tent in there. One's kind of a classroom, one's kind of a working space. Really excited, kids came in, very excited to be part of the program. We talked about how transportation was going to work. We have very few drivers. The vast majority of the kids are using our buses just as we had planned. So right now, knock on wood, parking hasn't been an issue. One of the first thing, even though we did get them going on tools pretty quickly, but they did go through safety training, went through, had to pass the OSHA test and everything else, worked their way through that. Basically, House Carpentry tried to slowly introduce students into some of the basic tools. They made some small furniture, everything, some shelves and stuff. And meanwhile, electrical went right into the booth work that that electrical usually does, setting up circuits and everything else. So, they went right to work. This was not a, wasting time, kind of get them going. They were excited to go. And then one thing we thought we should do is to get the kids down. We did have them down there when we had the student orientation back in June, but obviously we've done so much more work since then. We wanted to give the kids a sense of this is where you're coming. It's kind of stinks that you're up here, but you're going to have your own home soon. So actually, I think on the next slide there, the top left, that's the MVP kids down, getting a chance to see where they're going in and what's happened there. Want to make sure I gave you guys all the basic enrollment numbers. I think we told you that one of the problems was for the seniors was one, do I want to leave my home school and my friends and everything in my senior year? And also the fact that I'm only going to get 1 year training. So you'll see really the biggest gap is the senior house carpentry for Fitchburg. But they have been telling us all along that number might be that way and everything else. But besides that, the numbers look really good, really solid and everything else. So we're very happy with the way the actual MVP Academy's gone. Russ, I'm sorry. You're supposed to go.
Did we have, these kids that are in that program, they work out of our student handbook, their own student handbook, their sending school student handbook?
So we have kind of a general handbook that kind of lays out some of the basic policies and everything else. When it comes to something like discipline, in terms of offenses, it's pretty much, both handbooks have the same kind of offensive things you can and cannot do. When it comes to the consequences for those, it goes by their handbook. So it's sending to schools. So we basically call back and we say, okay, Jimmy did this. He did a safety problem, in one of the shops. They'll then say, okay, well, we have something in our handbook that says that's a day of suspension. I don't know, whatever. And they do that determination. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Go ahead.
So in reference to, it looks good, things are moving along, but when is the actual day where it will all be down there? I don't know if you said it or not.
Yeah, no, we have not. Well, I'll show you some of where we are. We're definitely moving along, going very fast. I would not expect, no, my finger crossed is even sometime in November. But I would
Still-
not,
Still within a month or two, that's fine.
yeah, but definitely not
Next
earlier,
year.
that's for sure.
Thank you.
So, going back to 270 itself, you can see where they're moving along. What we might, we could, in November, maybe we'll do another open session for school committee before the November meeting, so you guys can go down and check it out. You can see top left there, all the framings in place and everything else. They're moving along very nicely. Hopefully, we're not going to necessarily be putting up all the board, but hopefully we'll find the time. Again, we're still putting in some of the wiring and everything else. The bottom left picture, that I wanted to make sure everybody has, make sure I can see if it's the right one. That's the welding shop. But I wanted to make sure everybody knew that all the handrails that are being put up in 270 are all being made by our welding kids in the welding shop. So again, that's a nice little piece of work that we can do back here.
Just out of curiosity, how are we budget-wise? I mean, I know we were very fortunate to get quite a bit of money grant-wise, and how are we doing as far as staying on budget?
We're on budget, but are we getting down to the near end? We are, but we're feeling good. One of the things, so I'll mention one way where we think we might be getting some additional funds back, but I'll let you know in a second. One of the really nice things, if you look at the two, the middle picture and the bottom right, we have HVAC down there. You can see they've been putting up all the ventilation up on the ceilings there for the HVAC system. That's getting into place. So again, all the major pieces that we have are coming into place. Bottom left just kind of shows some of the work we continue to do with kids. Bottom left is the plumbing students working on getting all the bathrooms and everything put together. There is, those of you who've been down there, there are no windows, really. There's a couple small ones. There's going to be a clear glass garage door that will allow light into the room and everything else. And then bottom right, masonry, they're putting in the pad because that's where the ADA lifts are going to go. So as you can see, we have 6 shop programs working down there right now, and it's a fantastic thing. I think I put it up there. Yes, so where you can see the paragraph up there. So we've been talking with the owners of the building because we had some concerns with some leaks that we found. They have now committed to doing the roof. They're going to put a completely brand new roof on top of that. One of the things that I'm not going to try to explain, Brian could do it if we need to, but the type of insulation that they're going to be putting on that roof is going to be so much better than what was there. What we're kind of hoping is that might mean that the insulation that we would have to put around the building, we might not have to do as much as we thought, and that might get us a big savings and get more money back into us. So, but that's all to be determined by the building commissioner and everything else. The nice thing about the roof going on is our kids, we've already worked it out, can continue working. It's a metal base on the roof, so it's not like anything can fall down on the kids or anything like that. They'll be safe to continue doing the work. So even while they're doing the roof, we can get that done. So we're really excited about that. Yes, sir. Right in the front.
We'll see if that'll work.
And it's got to be green. Oh, yeah, might not be on. Yeah. Well,
Just quickly on the MVP project, how many students are there on a daily basis roughly?
oh, God, I would guess.
6 shops, you said, so
Yeah.
that's a fair amount of students.
40, 50?
And those students normally would be out in the communities doing community projects for all our member communities.
Correct.
So
Yep. So we did.
how many less projects are we doing this year compared to previous years?
So we remain committed to the Habitat House. So that for Habitat for Humanity, we're still sending kids out there to work on the Habitat House. For some of those other community projects, if they're small, we can do it. But we have made it clear, Hubbardston, I think, reached out to us for a project. And Brian was open and said, listen, for another couple months, they're going to be working, down at 270. So yes, we can maybe do that project, but we're going to have to do it later in the year. So folks are
Do we
aware.
track how many projects we do annually? I think I've seen a report over the years, how many projects we do annually for our towns?
Yes.
And can we look and see how many?
Yeah, yeah, it will definitely be less this
Oh,
year,
yeah.
definitely, yeah. So, okay. All All right, so part of the, for an offshoot of MVP, we talked about the grants that we did get. We told you about the CEC, the Clean Energy Center grant that we received. That pays for a whole bunch of years for the lease, for personnel. It's really what's really going to carry us through. It will make it easier to carry through. Katie and I went down to the awarding ceremony for that down at Brockton. Brockton high school has a small vocational portion. And we were part of the ceremony. You can't see it here, but way in that top left corner, there's the Monty Tech logo right there. So we were on the logos with everybody else. Katie and I looked at each other because they talked about the fact that they gave away to 76 different entities, they gave away $16 million. We got 1.2 of that $16 million. We got a huge chunk of that money. So we were very pleased with that. Again, Katie, fantastic job writing the grant and everything else. So we were very pleased with that. It was a nice presentation that they had there and everything else. So again, that grant has now been, even though we knew we had it, it was technically awarded. A couple other updates on grants, just so everybody knows about it. Unfortunately, the culinary lab modernization, the renovation grant, we were not awarded that. We are making adjustment. We had already received, and back in August, I believe, accepted the $300,000 for the FY24 Skills Capital Grant that was associated with culinary. The weird part was, is they gave us the grant, and then after they gave us the grant, they told us, oh, well, but we don't finance food trucks. So the money you put in there for a food truck, you need to take out. And we sent back a couple questions, and they were being pretty straightforward that they weren't going to do it. So we do have to reallocate $134,000 of that grant to culinary. Again, it has to stay with culinary. So we're looking at, some of the renovation stuff from the modernization grant. Can we move it? Do we move equipment from that? So we're working with the instructors to get that done. And then lastly, an update, kind of a grant update. We had told you about over the summer, we found out about in terms of that AG's office issue with the HVAC union questioning the way the bid was set up. We had to rebid it, but to do that, we went back to the auto body instructors and said, listen guys, the dual outside exterior booth, we just don't have the money to cover that. But we want to get you something. We do have enough grant money that we feel that we can get a single interior booth with dual bays, not two separates, but dual bays. So we are going to be putting together, actually one of our original RFPs that we wrote basically is the same thing, so we should be able to get that up and get it going real quick, and Tammy will be putting that one out pretty soon to go back out to bid. Because again, this has been a 2-year plus journey, I think, but we really want to get something to auto body. So quickly, because I did send, I don't know if everybody saw it, but I sent you an email last night. This is the time, October 1, where each vocational school is supposed to attest to their admissions policy in terms of whether or not it's compliant with federal and state laws and does not cause any disproportionate issues with demographics or anything like that. Lo and behold, as I put in the email, when we opened up the attestation the other day, so this is what up top, it's not really showing, but this is in its last year's FY23 language, but that's pretty much what the language has been on the attestation form since they've been doing this. When we opened it up this year, besides that piece, which is kind of the start down here in FY24, this piece had been added. And this was a big surprise to a lot of people, because one of the things that kind of has the same language here, but the part in red that talks about that we've ensured that such criteria have been validated as essential to participation in career technical programs. If you remember, I told you back in the spring that for ourselves, Bay Path, in Greater Lowell, we've been charged with and told that during this school year, we have to do a validation, an outside, an external third party helping us to do that validation, to look at our data, the data that DESE refuses to give us, that I'll just always throw in as an editorial comment. So that's the piece that we have to do. We haven't done that yet. We were told we had all year to do that, so we hadn't started that. I did not feel comfortable signing something that I had validated when I haven't. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm going to say this with the camera on, I don't know any school that's done that, so I'm not sure how the other superintendents are signing it, but we're under a bigger microscope, I think, than some of the other districts. So instead of sending in the straight-up attestation, I sent in for an extension, saying that we would get back to them and hopefully submit something in December. This afternoon, I had a Zoom call with Mava, Bay Path, the other folks, and Greater New Bedford. Now, Greater New Bedford was in a hire, they were put under having to have a full administrative review of their process. Their numbers were deemed very concerning by DESI. Next week, they are putting out what's basically a voluntary compliance, where they're gonna say, here's some of the changes we're gonna do. They have not done the search yet, or the validation yet, but we'll get a good idea of what the state is looking for when they put that out. So they're gonna share all that information with us when they do that next week. The one other thing I'd say that was ironic is, God, I wanna say it had to be back in August, when we were thinking about who could we get to do this research, we thought about going to the Lynch School, which is part of the education school for Boston College. Katie had just sent an email out to say, hey, we have a proposal we'd like to make, and maybe 4 or 5 days later, they announced that DESI had partnered with Lynch School and Boston College, so they got them first. But also, that also tells you is, DESI hasn't validated the data either, because they're looking for somebody to do it, so, but they're telling everybody else to say that we're doing it. So anyhow, I just want to make sure everybody understood that that's why I did what I did on the attestation. It's not, we're not being penalized by extending it or anything like that, but we'll see how it plays out. And finishing up, I want to congratulate our award winners. We got 3 award winners here in this room, if those of you who don't know. 2 lifetime award winners by Diane and Barbara, and then Ross was named for the All-State School Committee, so a round of applause, I'm sure everybody. I know you're applauding the GIFs for up there, but that's okay. You know, so, but anyhow, very good. So that's all I have.
You all set?
Yes.
Before we go on, I just want to recognize, we have a new member tonight from Royalston, Ashley Hadmack, welcome. Okay, we have an out-of-state field trip?
Correct. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the district committee votes to approve an out-of-state trip for 17 CAD drafting juniors to travel to Keene State College in New Hampshire for a college program visit on November 8th, 2024, from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at no cost to the students.
We have a second.
Second,
Mr. Barber. Yes, sir.
do we want to have that exact number of 17 in there? What if somebody comes into the program, or there's some transition, or is that not an issue?
I mean, I suppose somebody could, but juniors, it's rare that we have a junior
Okay.
come in,
I
yeah.
didn't know if it should be that
Yeah.
exact.
Yeah.
All right, any other? No other comments, then we'll call the vote. All right, let's go on to the, we're going to do the student reps report first? Okay. You have the floor, and your name is?
Hi, my name's Mac. It says Michaela, but I go by Mac instead. My appearance, also my member was off. My appearance, I came from soccer, so that's why I have shorts and my shop fleece. But I will start with athletics. There's not enough time to speak about like all of everyone's records and stuff like that, so I'm just gonna mention some highlights from yesterday. The girls varsity soccer team beat Assabet 4-2 at their away game, and the girls varsity cross country team won against AMSA. This is kind of a reiteration
Thank you. Ms. Dolson?
So Mac, too, just make sure this is a great group if you have fundraisers to come to. There's big, deep pockets are on the table. So make sure you tell your other co-student reps that, you know, when those come up, to make sure you hit up this group for any fundraising activities. Thanks for the update.
You all set? I see the principal pacing the floor there, so she must be in a hurry, right?
I'm sorry?
I said, I see you pacing the floor, so
I was actually checking out the big potato bar. That's what I was really doing, Jada. Amazing. Good evening, everyone. Mac, nice job. On September 12th, we had our back to school night, and just to give you a little reminder, this is certainly the night that we have parents coming in, and what they do is they rotate through their child's schedule. So they get to meet every one of the teachers and they're there for 15 minutes and get a quick little overview of what the expectations are in order for their child to be successful in the classroom, and certainly a quick meet and greet, and that way we can put faces to names and so forth. So we do the sophomores and senior parents coming together, and then certainly the freshmen and juniors, as you know, that way we can take care of our AB week schedule just in one night. The complaint is always that we have a big building and parents have to just, zoom through the building to get to the classes on time. I said, we get cardio in for all of the children in there. So that was a great night. It's always very well attended. We had Kim Curry available, guidance counselors and nurses, and certainly additional folks. Parents always have questions, especially parents of freshmen, as the school may be new to many of these families as well. I love when the younger siblings come along also, which is nice for them to hear and check out our school. We had 2 wonderful nights celebrating students during our honor roll banquets. We had a total of 517 students who were recognized. Not every student, not every family attends the honor roll banquet, but we do a nice dinner that's put on by our outstanding cafeteria crew. But again, we had 2 nights of a full house in our cafeteria celebrating the student success, which was wonderful. Eric was one of the parents that was there joining us one of those evenings as well. And so again, great event celebrating our students. Our college and career fair, as Mac mentioned, huge kudos with that to our guidance folks. Kim Donopoulos does an outstanding job reaching out and organizing this. And it is open to the public. As many of you know, this is something that Vicki has always scheduled this with Student Support Services. Montachusett Community College hosts a fair during the day, and then all of those reps, we invite them to Montachusett after. So it's a beautiful thing. They're already in our area. They come here. It is open to the public. We often have many students and families from surrounding schools coming here as well. So great, another wonderful turnout for our students who are seeking post-secondary options and visit with different schools and admission folks, unions and whatnot. During our PD on September 20th, we had a half-day professional development, and as you know, we do a choice model during these days, and we did some CPI training, Rebus. Each year, as you know, when we hire new teachers, we do pair them up with new mentors, so it's something that every 2 to 3 years, we do offer new training to ensure that we're getting some of those new staff to come back and hopefully get trained to become mentors. We also did the American Red Cross CPR AED training, the new IEP 2.0, that is something that's just around the corner, and we certainly want to make sure that folks are trained when they're writing the IEPs and reviewing IEPs. And with technology, our ed tech folks always do an outstanding job running different drop-in labs, helping teachers with Schoology, using PowerSchool and any other type of technology that they're using in the classrooms, and also some SEI training for Sheltered English Immersion as well. We have our VIP program run by Ms. Lamy. The fall VIP starts on October 17th, I believe. So those are the dates. You'll see the towns that are participating. This round will be Ashburnham, Westminster, Garner, Phillipson, Templeton, and Winchendon. We have 18 programs participating and a total of 260 middle schoolers that will be in the building checking out our program, so we're excited to welcome them as well. You will see our upcoming events as well. We did last week wrap up Homecoming Week 2, and that was a wonderful Spirit Week 2. We ended up Friday night with a big win over Southbridge, and also our Homecoming Dance where we had 717 students in our cafeteria and pavilion, but it was a wonderful event, enjoyed by many of us. Bill?
On the VIP session,
Yes,
only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towns, 6 communities?
so remember there are 3 different sessions,
Okay.
so it's split up, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So, okay. And one quick little shout out, today is National School Custodian Day too. So we had students yesterday during the lunches with a big sign that Melissa Lord printed, and the students wrote little messages to our custodians. And then I sent out a little Google form to teachers yesterday morning just saying, hey, let's give our custodians a little shout out. So as you exit the building this evening, when you're walking down right past the bathrooms on the left, if you want to read some of the messages, it's wonderful to hear and see. They see what we see too, so it's important to read this too. So kudos to our custodial staff too for keeping the building the way it is, and certainly also to Mike too.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
That was nice that you did that. Anyway, you're gonna do that for the teachers as well? Teachers appreciation day?
We do, yes. Katie does an outstanding job with our marketing and yes. And again, Melissa Lord has been involved with doing that today. We have done, yes, we want to recognize our people as often as we can, which is wonderful. Thank you. Yes.
I see Gardner is participating in the VIP program,
Yes.
and is that a change from prior years?
The VIP program is after school,
Yep.
where students get bused here to participate. No, Garner has always, so what happens is the information is sent to the school, and individual parents
Yep.
can choose to sign their students up.
Okay,
So Christy Lamy sends an email to all parents of the student, 7th and 8th graders,
Okay.
and then they can actually register their students.
so it's up to the parents to get the students
Correct,
there.
correct.
Okay,
But the
thank you.
information does go to all of them.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Yes.
I think maybe what you might be thinking about is tour day. Who's been participating in tour day?
Correct, yes, so, I don't have the updated list of all of them.
Yeah, they haven't, and we have not heard from them this year. We don't think they're
Dana, can I ask a question going back to the back-to-school night?
Sure.
How, do you get many parents, can you give us an estimate?
I don't know the exact number, as it's just people are, the freshmen, it's mostly the second session, so we have to do the 2 sessions because of the AB week split. We purposely do sophomores and seniors earlier because most senior parents, this is their child's 4th year, and they
Yeah.
feel like so it's typically the freshman parents that it's mostly attended by freshman parents. So we do that the second session, understanding that the parents are working, and it takes them a little bit, obviously, to get here. So that's typically our busiest time as well. And then we'll have, as you know, in November, we have our parent-teacher conferences within teachers. Parents can choose to make appointments with individual teachers to really discuss their students' progress at that time. Right now, it's early. It's just a quick meet and greet to just learn about the expectations of the classroom and the teacher in order to make sure that everyone's supporting the student and their success in their classroom. So, and it was just academic teachers too. The vocational teachers were not here. They'll be present when we do the October dates.
All right.
Yes.
Are accommodations made if you have a child in both like sophomore and senior, freshman and junior? Like how do you handle parents of multiples?
We get that every year.
It will be me.
It's difficult. I mean, unless we were here for 2 nights or did 4 different sessions, our teachers, because of the AB week schedule, our teachers are not double booked. So we may have a teacher that teaches sophomores and seniors, but they may have 2, 3 of sophomores, and then they're 4 or 5 of seniors, so they're not double booked. For parents, I typically get 1 to 2 parents saying, what do I do? Some split, if a 2-parent household, they split. Some choose, and they'll say, I know my child has had Mr. So-and-so, I don't necessarily, I know, I'm familiar with the expectation, I feel it was very clear in the syllabus, I know I can reach out to that teacher, etc. And they chose to go to different ones. I know it's
Okay.
hard, yes. I know, but it's difficult, but it is, and yes, so my apologies. So, okay, and next you have the enrollment reports in there. that again, you're familiar with every month. And then the last document that's here is the 2028 admissions waitlist information. So that, I keep looking over here, but it's, you guys have that on yours, okay. So you have it by town, the initial waitlist as of April 2nd, any students who were added beyond that, and then any offers that were made after April. And then how many students were accepted, right? So just because a seat was offered doesn't mean that that student took it. Sometimes students end up on the wait list, and by the time they get a call, they would say, yeah, thank you, but no, I'm not interested, and whatnot. So you have the numbers there per town. Any questions? Yes.
Hi, I have a question about, for example, so Peter Sam takes 2 students every year. This year, we only have 1 enlisted student for a freshman, and I'm just curious how that works. Does it mean that this person was the only one to apply?
Correct.
Okay. And then, sorry, follow-up question. So what happens to that slot that's open in Peter Sam? It goes to someone on the wait list from another town?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
John Malika?
Why Gardner has such a low number?
So that's been that's been a change, I think, from previous years where I think the applications dropped, that the number of applications dropped significantly. I'm not sure exactly of why that is.
I think it's fair to say Gardner does not participate, as we were saying earlier, they did not participate in tour day. I'll leave it at that, I guess. I don't want to get too political on that either, but yeah, so that could be one of the issues.
The only reason I ask is it always stood out in my mind in past, and I don't know where the past begins and present on it, but it was always like second or third.
Yeah.
in the numbers. It seems to be,
Yeah, but this is just a wait list now.
what's that?
It's just a wait list.
I understand, but
Yeah.
it's reflective, you can't have more in here than your quota.
Yeah.
So it's sort of related.
Yeah. Bill, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just, it seems there's a disproportional percentage of students offered from one community. It's more than 25% of the total offers. Is there a reason for that, or is it just by
I'm sorry,
happenstance?
can you repeat that?
The offers of admission since April 1st, more than 25% with one community.
So you're referring to Holden? So Holden, the original number of Holden, when students received the letter of saying congratulations, out of that number, 10 students declined the acceptance. So then Chrissy Lemay automatically went to that wait list. And at that time, it took getting through 14 students to have additional 10. So it could have been student number 1 on the wait list call, thank you, but no thank you, I have changed my mind, and then kids 2, 3, 4, 5 accepted and so forth, and that's how that works. So, and remember that sometimes, students, and we also have schools in our communities that encourage students to apply, knowing and making sure they're meeting deadlines, that students are sort of on the fence and then may change their mind about attending here. I also wanted to make a point too when talking about Garden and such. I also think that schools are also looking at ways and how do we keep our students in our district too? So I think that, which is a nice, good thing for them, right? That they may be looking at school, looking at ways that how do I retain these students to support them in our district as well. So, I mean, kudos to them for that reason.
Do you ever bump up the number of waitlisted students to the actual slots the towns get? Because I know, like, for Ashby, like, we get 6 spots. We have 13 students waitlisted. That's, like, almost double our normal slots. So, like, is this information ever used to, like, reallocate the spots numbers that towns are allocated for?
No, because our quota is
Okay.
based on
The percentage of
percentage
the
of
students?
schools.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Excellent, thank you, have a good night.
All right. Personnel, I don't see any retirements. We have 1 resignation, Tom?
Yes, it was a paraprofessional, got a job somewhere.
Okay. And appointments, I
Make
see
sure I have
4.
that one. Yep. I'm looking at the minutes instead of the actual meeting, so that probably doesn't help the situation. Yes, so one of the appointments, as Diana mentioned, is the new afternoon security, afternoon and evening security, which helps out with both kids waiting to get on the late bus and for our LPN and continuing ed program. Like I said, we did have one paraprofessional that left to go to another district, a different position, so we filled that position. We had a math instructor leave the district right at the end of the summer. So we had a sub in there for a while, but we were very lucky to find Mr. Montachusett. And then we brought in the load of students for our speech pathologist was really getting really big. So we brought in a part-time speech pathologist to kind of help bring that load down. Both of those folks will help run some of our social groups and everything else. So again, just to keep the numbers down and the loads for those, student loads for those people at a better number.
Mr. Raymond?
Yeah, it's kind of curious, the math instructor, I don't have the contract's at 55.6, this sounds really low for an instructor. Is there a reason it's so low, or is it just the way it falls in their contract?
Never taught, first time ever teaching.
Okay.
So they're brand new.
So that's essentially like an entry-level number, and then once they
Correct.
start their steps, they'll get up to where they probably should be,
Yep.
correct? Okay, thanks.
Anything else? If not, policy subcommittee, Ms. Swenson.
Move that the district committee approve policy VEDH, which is public participation of, maybe I should start over. Move that the district committee approve policy VEDH, public participation of committee meetings for a first reading. The items marked in yellow were the changes from what was previously in our policy.
Diane, could you,
John?
did you get what the yellow means? Does that mean it's added or taken out?
That's a newly added item.
The part on executive session, how does that relate to public participation? I mean, I understand the dividing between executive session and public participation, but I don't get what that line is. Alone to be held is prescribed. What does that have to do with public participation?
I'm sorry, which part was it at?
If you look under policy, the second committee, the second one, second section, second.
Oh, the all regular and special?
Below that, the executive session. I don't get how that relates to this policy. The meaning of that sentence. I know that's true, but why did it find its way into this policy?
I still can't find it.
Oh, sorry, Bill.
If you look down below, it's eliminated, the language eliminated, it says public participation in executive sessions is dictated by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Is it just cleaning up of that language, is that all they're doing?
But why is that added? Isn't the yellow mean that we added that line?
The yellow is additions to the policy, and the strike-throughs, which should have been in yellow, are the ones that are being eliminated from the existing policy.
Right, so I don't understand why that's added. What does executive sessions will be held only as prescribed by law? I get that as truth, but I don't get why that it found its way into this policy. It doesn't seem to be particular to this topic.
Actually, that's listed in other schools' policies, and in some cases, we've made additions to align with what other vocational schools have done, and MASC has recommended.
Well, I get that we're following what other people do, but is there anybody here who understands why we're following with this content?
I'd have to go back and look up the law itself, I don't remember.
Well, you're not gonna have public participation in executive session.
In some cases, you might, insofar as if, I'm trying to think of something, I'm not 100% sure this would be appropriate, but for example, you may have potential new superintendents to be interviewed or whatever initially could be done in executive session or some other discussions. And they would not necessarily be public participation, but they are not direct school committee members, but so they are coming in from the public.
So
That's about the only one I can think of.
Yeah,
Well-
so it sounds like what the intent here was that public participation in an executive session will be allowed only as prescribed by the statutes.
Right,
I think.
right.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's a misnomer to call it public participation, because the committee can vote and ask anybody to come into executive session if they have something that's germane to the topic.
Right. But there could be some statutes in the law, and I'd have to go look at, it's a long thing.
All right. Bill?
We have an attorney at our,
We do.
should we ask them?
We could ask the attorney what he thinks.
Well, that's the question. So, I think that this is fine. The way that it's written, the way that it's here, you're going to conduct your executive sessions as the statutes require. If that allows for public participation for some things and you want to bring people in, that's fine. If it's a topic that doesn't involve any public and it's going to be a closed executive session, that's fine. As long as it's in line with the statutes, the language in this policy is okay with me.
All right.
Can we
John.
think of any case where this wouldn't apply? In other words, we have a statement here. Is there any place in any policy where this doesn't apply?
I don't understand your question. If there's any place where,
In any policy where this statement doesn't apply?
that an executive session will be conducted in line with the statutes?
It applies to every policy. So I'm wondering why we're putting it here. Why do we put it in every policy? Is that okay?
I can't answer the intent of the policy committee, but I think that this language here is fine because it's saying that we're conducting executive sessions. This is about public participation. So if the statute allows public participation will be allowed. If it doesn't, then it won't.
It doesn't say that.
Eric?
So, yeah, John, I think the intent of the policy itself too, right? This is our way to explain to our community how and what we would expect for public participation at meetings, right, for the school. So it's our policy around all meetings in general to provide the guidance of how we have the agenda set, setting the time domain for how long they can speak, how we're gonna organize that. So it sort of sets expectations with somebody around, if you wanna come speak at our meetings, here's the guidelines that we follow in our policy. So it's relevant to have the executive session comment there, so somebody isn't taken aback if they come to a meeting and we kick them out of executive session, right? It's there, okay, there's laws, we're not gonna detail all the laws for executive session because they are too nuanced for whether or not they could be involved. So I think it's valid to have it there, there's a reference to it, we may have an executive session, it might change how this policy gets interpreted, and we've made somebody aware of it, so.
John?
Yeah, so I would change it because we just spent 5 minutes figuring this out and debating it. And I'm not sure that anybody who reads this is a part and parcel of this conversation is going to know that. So I would recommend that we change that to public participation in executive sessions is allowed as prescribed by the statutes of the Massachusetts law.
Jeff?
Yeah, you know, at first I was a little confused about the whole thing and listening to it. Now, when I look at it, I think we're missing one little thing. It's called the period, right after the public. So if you read that paragraph, it says, all regular and special meetings of the school committee shall be open to the public, period. Executive sessions will be held only as prescribed by statutes of mass law. I think we're all missing the little period, which means stop, and then read the executive session. I think it reads differently than when I initially thought it read. So I think it's pretty clear.
And also, the purpose of executive session is by its nature to exclude people from being in there when that decision's being made. Now, eventually, that's all gonna become public, but you have an interest in being able to discuss these things out of the public eye. Ross?
I agree with Mr. Malika that it should delineate out, maybe there should be a space between the two sentences. Mr. Raymond pointed out, pay attention to the period, there was a period there, but maybe there should be a space between those two statements. But a lot of people don't know what executive session is, so I think we should have a prefix on that, that public participation in executive session. So if we went into executive session, the public knows that we gotta follow the law.
Yeah.
And if that means that they're thrown out, don't take offense.
Well, I think that Mr. Raymond had a good point there. It says all regular and special meetings are open to the public. It does not say that executive sessions are.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So that second sentence
Yeah.
is kind of like its own thought. Maybe there should be a space between the two of them.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
If all you're talking about is having a space, just like another line change, so it becomes a paragraph by itself.
Yeah, Diane?
That doesn't require, that's a formatting change, it doesn't require
Right,
a
I
motion.
think what Ross is saying, I definitely agree with Ross, if we made it like a space between those two, it would definitely emphasize the two different sentences. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I don't mean to belabor this, but the first sentence says that these meetings will be open to the public. The second one talks about be held only. They're two different thoughts. So maybe if you put this executive sessions will be open to the public as prescribed.
No.
Because the first sentence is about that these meetings will be open to the public, but the executive session says that they'll be held only as prescribed by law.
But you're missing a distinction here.
Well, I'm trying to make
The
a
first
distinction,
sentence
but
talks
maybe
about
not.
meetings.
What's that?
The first sentence talks about meetings.
Yeah,
The second section talks about executive sessions.
I understand, yeah.
Two different things.
Well, it's part of
Right.
the meeting,
It's part of a meeting, but it's different.
Chair.
and so,
Yeah.
we agree on that, but what does your statement have to do with the second sentence?
John? I understand what John's saying, but I also think, and council correct us, executive sessions generally are not open to the public. And that's basically, I think, that paragraph where it says executive session shall follow the law, whatever the mass law is. They changed the mass law, and I know when working with Diane, we try to refer to the law, so if the legislature decides to change the law, we don't have to hurry up and go change all kinds of policies. And I think the way it's worded is very clear, and it's not, executive session is generally not open to the public. Only specific people that are related to the incident were in there, and it's very specific in the law, and it's where I'd leave that.
All right, I think that we all agree that we'll just put a space between those two sentences. And
That doesn't mean a change in the motion.
it doesn't need a change in the motion, doesn't need a change in the wording, it'll just make it, I think, more understandable. In agreement?
Yeah, I can put it there.
Any
Have
other,
to fix it before I send it to Julie.
okay, any other discussion on this? You want a motion, we need a motion to approve?
I already made the motion,
You already
and
made the
it was
motion.
seconded.
Okay. All right. The motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor, or Julie, call a vote?
For information purposes, the policy notes from 9/11 are included in this section of the agenda.
Okay,
Next motion.
want to, you second policy question?
Okay.
John, excuse me, John Malaga hasn't voted.
On the first or second?
First.
First one, yeah, for some reason I alarmed myself out, so no.
Okay, thank you.
All set?
We all set, Julie? Yes. And what was the vote on that?
Passed. 16 ayes, 2 nays.
Okay, thank you. All right, Corey?
Okay, the move that the district committee approve ADDA Corey requirements, ADDA-R Corey requirements, which is a reference, ADDA-E, which is the acknowledgement form for all three of those for first reading, and remove policies ADDA-E-1, ADDA-E-2, and ADDA-E-3, as these are no longer needed since they're incorporated in the first three.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, let's call a vote. All right. And, okay, capital improvements, you got anything?
No meeting.
Meeting, Eric, anything on workforce other than what we're gonna discuss later?
No, we do have a motion.
Melanie, students?
Well, no, we have a motion for the workforce.
Do you wanna do the, we
There's
could,
another one.
Students.
Okay.
So workforce, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I confused myself.
It's okay. It's a lot to do tonight. So I move that the district committee accept and adopt the proposed goals as presented at the last committee meeting, the superintendent director on September 4th, for the 24-25 school year. So as we mentioned at that meeting, he presented his goals. We were open for any feedback or questions. We had not received any feedback or questions. Everybody seemed to love them. So I move that the committee
I'll second.
Okay.
accept those goals.
All right. Before we vote, do you wanna say anything?
Thank you. Because I'm already working on those goals.
So for anybody who wasn't on the committee or new, if you look at the meeting agenda from last month, under its superintendent director's update is the multi-page document of goals. Our superintendent is very good at that compared to mine for my boss, which are usually 2 lines, which aren't very smart, so.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and I never saw anything like the book he gave us last year.
Don't challenge me.
Multi-volume? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, can we call the vote?
When I voted aye, the check cleared.
Yes, Barbara? Okay. We all set, Julie? Seeing how we can't see it, can you tell us what the vote was?
18.
18 in favor. So, all right. Unanimous. All right. Okay, no. Dr. Terigny, gift committee.
Graduation gift committee. And you have approximately how much we have in the graduation gift.
It would be the same amount as last year.
About $400.
decided on May 3rd, there will be a dance benefit. The Students Assistance Fund and the note. The time will be 6:30 to 9:30. That's a Saturday night. It was decided that the invitees would be the administration, the school committee members, teachers, custodians, and spouses. It was discussed that this would be a benefit, there'd be no admissions charge, and we would have to find a way of getting donations, and that's where the committee comes in. Presently, we have 3 individuals that have expressed their desire to be on the committee. I would like to have a couple more, especially the younger individuals, the younger members of society, of the school committee. Hopefully, I will, within the next 2 weeks, I will have a meeting. The other thing, one of the problem, that's not a problem, it's just an issue, is that a 10-year history of rock and roll. There are a lot of songs, good music, a lot of entertainment, and great, great performance. I'm looking to continue what was done in the past, using 45 records. So if anybody has any 45 vinyl records, I would appreciate that you would lend me those records so I can go through them. And also, and pick out certain songs. There's a theme that's in my head, and I will discuss with the school committee members. That's the other members on the committee. If you do allow me to look at your records, and you have particular ones that you like, just jot them down. I have a collection, but nothing compared to what I'm going to need. So.
Mr. Campbell,
45 records, like the small ones?
small ones with the big hole in them?
I'm going
I
back.
haven't seen one of those since the 70s, but I got some cassettes that are awesome.
Honestly, I want this to be like it was Pittsburgh High, that once a month they had a dance. Leominster High, the grammar schools did it, and it was basically records. I want to go back to those days. You can wear the costumes those days.
Yes, sir.
John, what are the years that you're hoping to get records for?
Well, that's interesting, because rock and roll really started with Sun Studios in 1950. And some of but it really didn't catch on until 1955, 54, 55. And so I'm battling, doing from 55 1960. Research the recordings, and there's a lot of good history, a lot of good history. And then we'll start with the audio, and planning, I'm thinking of having a raffle. There's going to be a trivia thing, so you better listen to what I say. Because it'll be a gift, whoever gets played. And it's going to be very simple. I don't expect a lot of decorations. I just want it to be a basic dance for the school to have fun. As a result, you can help the North and students assistance. And that's all I have to say right now. It's still in my head, that's all I can say.
All right, thank you. All right. Mr. Olson, what we got with financial planning?
Yes, so the Financial Planning Subcommittee did meet prior to the school committee meeting. One of the recommendations that came out of our Financial Planning Subcommittee was a unanimous recommendation of our, let's hope, final FY25 educational plan. So I move that the district committee approve the final FY25 educational budget as follows. Total budget, $33,466,415, less revenues of $21,047,208, with a total assessment of $12,419,207.
That is the total operating budget, correct?
It is the budget, yes.
Rather than just being educational, it is
Yeah.
the total operating budget. Follow me?
Not sure I'm following the distinction. That's our educational plan that we vote. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah,
include
yeah,
some of the
no,
other
what
grants.
I'm saying
Yeah.
is that those numbers there are the total
Yes.
operating budget of the school.
Yes.
It's not just like educational and operations or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So this is, there is an increase in here, once we have all the final Chapter 70 monies, it's a slight increase, slight change of all the community assessments as usual, since we've already had all our cities and towns vote our budgets. We really can't go up on any assessments, so everything's sort of adjusted and prorated to make that correction for the subtle changes with the Chapter 70 monies. Open
Anyone
for
have any
questions, and so isn't Tammy as well. What?
I'm just saying, if anybody have any questions of you. Barbara?
I noticed in the minutes from the last meeting that there was a grant that came in differently, and the wording said that there would be $200,000 toward assessments. Is that budget item? Did I read the wrong minutes?
Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, I'll find it.
I'm not sure, Barbara.
Okay. Then I have no question.
All right. Anybody else? If not, we'll call a vote. Okay, that was voted unanimous.
Very nice.
Go on to, you have the financial statements there. You have any questions for Tammy? Oh, I'm sorry. Bill?
I didn't see a book going around tonight. Do we not have one?
Oh, dear God.
I don't want you to, I don't want you to miss out, Tammy.
Thank you. Yes, I'm gonna go get it right after.
Glad you're on the ball. Yeah. All right.
You can have an extra big potato.
There's no questions on the financial statements. We have health insurance rates for this year.
Mr. Chair, move the district committee approve the health and dental insurance rates as presented for the 2024-2025 plan year effective December 1st of 2025, I believe, is the correct, not the motion for 24?
Be 24, right?
Is it starts December 1st, 24? Okay,
December,
okay, then 2024, the way it's printed.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any questions, concerns?
Well,
Yes, sir.
it is worth concerning to say that the rates that you see in this are more than what we had planned. There was some adjustments in the financial plan to kind of adjust for this, and we have another motion later as well. You know, we had budgeted less of an increase than what we are actually seeing here, so. But these are the best rates we can get.
All right. I don't see any other questions, comments. Can we call the vote? And that looks like unanimous with one abstention.
I have to abstain
Okay,
because I received.
all right. Teacher information of proposals, I
Oh,
don't see any teacher.
No, back to 6C.
Oh,
Mr. Chair,
ahead of myself.
I move that the district committee approve of depositing $200,000 received from state aid transportation for the fiscal year '24 into the Regional School Transportation Reimbursement Revolving Fund per MGL Chapter 71, Section 16C, as amended by the Chapter 233 of the Acts of 2014.
Second.
All right. Questions, discussion? Mr. Barber?
I think that's what Barbara was looking at.
No, it's something else. I'll go back and find out. Probably on the wrong minutes or something.
All right. John?
Tammy, on the, where did the $200,000 not come from? Where was it calculated? Or what was it? Why do we look at that?
Why the 200,000?
Excuse me, Tim, microphone.
Originally, the committee's FY25 budget had used $150,000. We had proposed using $150,000 for the, from the transportation revolving to offset assessments. So where it came in extra and we needed to increase the budget that you just voted on, the budget that you just voted on actually uses $200,000 to make the assessments or assist the assessments to go down, as well as keep our E&D under the 5% requirement. Does that help?
Sort of. Is there any relation between the 1.7 and the $2.2 million relative to the 200,000?
No. It's more arbitrary, so I should have just said that.
Should have been extra one.
Should have just said that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara?
That is the
There's more intuitive.
Ross, that is the $200,000. As she explained it, I'm going through the words in my mind.
All right, anything else? If not, you want to call the vote? It looks unanimous to me. Okay, there is no teachers here, teachers' proposals. I have one thing, I got an email the other day from the Mass Association of Regional Schools. They're running a Zoom meeting next Tuesday called Project 211. It deals with declining enrollment in the schools in Massachusetts. And I think it'd be very good to actually do that if you can, because that's going to present some challenges to us and also some opportunities to work with our member districts in terms of running programs or whatever. I mean, Tom and I have talked about this, maybe doing programs out in the communities and rather than having, we're bursting at the seams here. We could have the opportunity to do other things with other school districts, particularly if they have space available in their buildings. So I think in terms of long-range planning, it would be a good idea to take a look at that if you can. And if you haven't seen that email yet, I'll send it to Julie and she'll send it out to you. John?
Did they indicate what the nature of the decline in enrollment was?
Basically, they call it Project 211 because there's 211 districts that have 50% of the students statewide. So
I didn't hear the last part.
there's 211 districts that only have 50% of the students statewide.
Okay.
They're losing students. I don't have numbers in front of
They
me.
didn't say why, or they did say why that they're losing. It's important because if we're
Yeah,
gonna go and do
but
something
that is statewide, the number of students. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I think a lot of that information will come out in this meeting.
It wasn't in the article.
What's that?
Was it in the presentation that you read?
No, I haven't seen it yet. The meeting is next Tuesday.
Oh,
And,
so there was no prepared.
we'll send you a link to it.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there was a
Yeah.
paper or something.
Whitney?
Or pre-reading.
I was just gonna say that it's primarily the declining birth rate
Yeah.
in the state is why you're seeing a declining enrollment in public schools.
Right, and so the reason I asked that, like relative to that, is I don't think going out into schools is gonna, help people get pregnant.
Jeff?
What do I do?
Yeah, you were mentioning something about expanding opportunities. Are we talking the MVP program itself? Because I know,
Similar stuff, yeah.
okay,
mean,
because
there's
I
a
know
lot of stuff
I've
out
mentioned,
there
I
that-
mentioned to,
that we could do, it's just a question of getting money to do it.
right, I
And in
mentioned to
terms
Tom
of-
that once this gets settled, I want to try to look at Athol
Yeah.
as the next
Definitely.
group,
Because, I mean, we're
Maybe we can
essentially
incorporate
stuck
Phillipsen.
here. We're going to have around 1,450 students here. But we're looking for other opportunities, particularly in the trades like MVP, and maybe other opportunities that we could do off campus here. And like I said, this is,
But aren't we a little premature because I think we're still trying to get the new, this MVP
right,
settled, right?
yeah,
Okay.
we're working on,
Okay.
we're going to get this one up and running, but in the meantime, we want to look at other long-range opportunities too.
All right.
Dan?
Just keep in mind that when we start talking about that, we need to always refer back to the district agreement and find out from legal exactly what changes need to be made to it, because there is a distance from the original building that is specified in the agreement, and we would have to have that modified. And that means it's going to require all 18 cities and towns to agree to it, which I'm sure they probably
Yeah.
would. But we just need to make sure we have everything appropriate for it. Because I think it's only like 3-point-something miles.
Right, yeah, but I mean, particularly I think we have to offer more opportunities in the traditional building trades. There's a lack of plumbers, lack of carpenters in this area.
Agree?
Okay, that's it for me. Do we have any school committee informational proposals?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion here that the district Our district could maybe pay for the expenses, conference fees, meals, lodging for the members wishing to attend the joint conference in Hyannis, November 6th through 9th.
We have a second. Mr. Barber, all right. Discussion? Yes?
How much money is being asked for this, for the conference?
Well, the conference is like $500 each.
Right, but how many people here have,
Oh.
because that should have been done like in July, to have like lower fees and stuff, so I'm just curious how many people, what are we asking, how much money? Right, but how many people have, oh, no one, you know what I mean? Usually we would have already submitted everything in, so I'm just curious how many people,
Well, how about we
so
just
you don't know?
see who wants to raise their hand, who wants to go right now? That'll give us a number.
Can I make a comment
Cameron,
first?
yeah.
Just want to just touch on this a little bit. In the past, we've always, as a committee, attendance, and basically looking at a joint conference of the superintendents and Masters Association School Committees members attend this. It's more of a lot of professional development for us. We look at, see how the other schools are doing, we exchange ideas, and so on and so on. Some of the new incoming committee members, they're also offering a course on charting the course, which you have to take. So it's a good opportunity for that, to go that one day to do that. And others, you know, it's a good opportunity to just get there and, like I said, meet other people, and just all kinds of programs that you can learn for our future uses, whatever the case might be. The other quick thing is, we've got 3 members here in our committee that is nominated for achievement awards. It would be great for us to at least go in and cheer them on, and, you know, we've always gone to these, and I know some of you work during the day, and you don't go to this, and others take time off, go to 1 day or 2 days, so I think it's a good event. I think it should be something we should look into.
Barbara?
Julie, about how many average go every year?
In the past, just
4 or 5.
2?
Sometimes
Sometimes 3. Okay, so it's not like the whole committee, it's just 2 or 3. And it's the same ones that pretty much go, okay, that's all.
Can I just add something real quick? I'm sorry, but Bob just reminded me, I totally forgot to put a slide in there. MASC reached out to myself maybe a month or so ago and asked if we would host a charting the course here. So we're doing that. So December 7th, we're hosting. So for what it's worth, the folks who don't end up going down, you can attend that course right here at Montachusett.
Mr. Molliker, did you have
Yeah,
a...
it seems like, back to what somebody already said, this is kind of eminent, and you have to have signed up already, right?
No,
No, so
It's
it's
right up in the end.
November, but we're not, we're okay.
Yep.
yeah, you can still sign up.
What's that?
You can still sign up,
All right, that's good.
yeah.
So maybe we should just get sort of an average for 3 people and sort of vote that relative to how many. So in other words, we have an about amount.
About $4,050 for 3 people.
For 3 people?
Yeah.
Do we have any more than that going?
I have a question, but people aren't going to the whole conference, you mean like the 3 that are being,
Well, all I'm saying is, to be more generic, we should probably vote an amount
yeah, because
up to.
we're only going to the dinner.
So Tim, do you have a recommendation for? Okay, Eric.
For those of you who are astute and looked at your updated proposed budget, you'll see there was $5,000 added to the committee expense to cover MASC.
Okay. So that should be the proposal,
I think it's fine, the motion the way it is. If somebody wants to go and the committee chair or whoever approves, as we've done in the past, we put the money back in to where candidates voted, so. Sounds like somebody's asking to go, so Bob, you can go.
I just wanted to mention that when I was awarded I'll be receiving, as Barbara will and Ross will, on that Friday night. And so I had only put in to stay overnight on Friday night.
Yeah.
because we're not being charged for the dinner.
Right. Ross?
When we vote on this, are the people that are going, should they abstain?
No, don't have to.
All right. Yes,
Well, normally we would pay for this, but isn't this coming up only because of the extra money that got taken? Or-
no,
No?
no.
I thought last month when we voted, when you showed us the budget, how much money the school committee had, it was lower than normal this year because of the equipment that we bought. Is that, so normally we would, it's just that we had agreed, right? Because I'm not saying we shouldn't pay for this. I'm not saying that at all. It's just strictly because we had voted on that budget, right?
That's correct. Originally, it was lower because of the recording equipment, but this evening, knowing that we had some recipients of the awards that people may want to go, the finance subcommittee voted to add 5,000 back to that line so that it could cover it.
No.
Does that make this motion not unnecessary?
If that's the case,
Well, if there is money in the budget for it, then there is no need for this amendment. So we can withdraw the amendment.
withdraw my motion.
All right.
Second.
So the motion is off the table. Okay, we're going to go to school committee comments, and we'll start with Mrs. Swenson over here and work our way around.
I'm fine.
You're fine, okay. Shelley?
I'm all set.
Jada?
There's lots of food, please take some home, I don't want to take it all with me.
Okay.
Delicious.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for doing it, Jada.
It's my pleasure. I really enjoy doing it, and it's not a hassle, so please don't worry about it. I'm happy to provide every meeting. And that's like, what, like 6 more? Like, it's not that many, really.
Christina?
I don't have anything.
Whitney?
Thank you.
Ron? John?
7 enough already, thank you.
Russ?
Just a comment, that the microphone, I don't know if it's everybody's microphone, I think I saw a few people, they didn't work, like you weren't able to toggle it from red to green. Did anybody else experience that tonight? They do work now, but they weren't through the meeting, so,
Well, we'll be working the glitches out. So let's just-
thank you.
Yeah.
The tried and true Microsoft approach. Shut it off when we started.
I tried that.
Jeff?
I did have something I wanted to, Tom, you mentioned that, how soon are you gonna be able to, where we can go down to the MVP? I didn't get an opportunity last time I forgot about
We're
it,
trying to do something next month.
for like November?
The November meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Scott? Eric?
First, welcome to our new member Ashley, great to have you on board. Glad you could be here. Please ask all the questions that you think shouldn't be asked, because a lot of us that have been here a long time breeze through things that may not be so apparent to others, so please always feel free to ask questions and question why we're doing something, and, there's a lot of things we go through really fast, and I think everybody here would be happy to explain and take the time to
Just
walk
don't
through.
get too long-winded, because a lot of us have to be in bed by 8:30.
Still have a long meeting to go, so welcome Ashley and the other members. And a second one, I guess, just because Tom brought it up, and I can be politically charged, I guess, and make a statement on question 2 and the MCAS test, and I think it was one of the best things that happened in our state was MCAS. How that happened to the schools, what it did for this school and other vocational schools was quite impressive, actually. I think that should stay. I think it's, everything needs to be adopted and moved and morphed, but there was a lot of haters of that test in education when it first came out, and I think a lot have converted over. But for sure, it had major improvement in this school specifically, I can speak to. And so I like that requirement, but that was it for me.
Calvin?
Yes, sir. 2 things. It was commented on with the standardized test that if it doesn't count for anything, then students might not take it seriously. And I can recall being in high school and being in a class where we were taking some stupid test on science or some damn thing, I don't know what it was, but somebody in the classroom just drew a little picture with the dots as we were answering questions, because it didn't count for anything and it was just a survey. Now, I'm not saying who that person was, but
You get the
it
picture.
happens, and so I would attest to the fact that if you want this test to mean something at that sophomore grade, you probably want to have some meat or something that makes it serious for the students to take. Second thing is, I asked a few questions about Gardner. That's who I'm representing on this committee, and I know Gardner has some feelings about Monty Tech based on experience, and my goal is just to try and gather information and address what those concerns are. The question about why there isn't such a long wait list, and some of it could be that, you know, how much is the school pushing how much is the Gardner Public Schools pushing Monty Tech? The other piece of it is how much the students want to come here. Because I substituted last year for a little bit at Gardner High School, and I would ask juniors, seniors, you know, what are you going to do and all this? And I would say, well, did you apply to Monty Tech? And they said, yeah, I didn't have the grades. And so there began to be a sense, I felt, talking to eighth graders, are you going to apply? Well, I'm not sure, I don't have the grades. And so it's addressing some of those issues. I think we've addressed it in the admissions policy by changing the way we're scoring the grading system. Used to be, 25 points for A's, 20 points for B's, and 15 points for C's. Now we're saying it's 25 points for anything A, B, or C. So we're lessening the actual grades and making it more equal for students that may be not academically skilled, but are still interested in the trades and have the capability of doing the trades. They're just not academic students. That's it. I am having my upstairs bathroom completely gutted and redone, and the contractor, the plumber, and the electrician are all Monty Tech grads. So I'm watching them work, and they're good people, and they seem to have a good attitude, and so on. So my intention is to keep working on this issue to try and make it work the way I think it should be, and I think the way my community wants it to work. So thank you.
Barbara?
Thank you. I missed a few meetings, and when I missed the meetings, I would read the minutes. And when I read the minutes, every month it seems, since we have nice new members, there's someone I don't recognize. So then I go to the website, look at the list, see what town they're from, and I thought, would there be a way, or is it appropriate on the agenda to just welcome new members, just from their town, just their name and their town, so we would all know before that we get in here? So because I missed the meeting, I realized we had a little void that maybe we could fill. That's all.
Bob?
Just to piggyback on Gardner representative here, I'm just kidding. The problems that I've been here, let me see, since 2004, had a little break and I came back. And one of the big always issue is the admissions. When I also worked here for about 4 years before I ventured off to another school, which I should have never did, but that's a different problem, that's a different situation. And I was part of the marketing committee. I was school career manager at the time. Strat gave me, that's the title, which does co-op, marketing, and everything. We had maybe 950 students. And I would hit every one of the communities. I know we brought a few on later on. I would do a dog and pony show at the cafeteria in the 8th grade and 7th grade to recruit these students. Very negative about our Voc Tech schools. This is the 1990s, mid-90s. So, and I'm talking about what Eric just said. by bringing the MCAS, it did make a huge difference. Because when the MCAS first was introduced, 2002, and the first counted in 2003, the MCAS test results for the voc tech schools, they were on the bottom. 5, 6 years later, huh?
The kids didn't take them serious.
They can't, and they're like top right now. And obviously, the shifting of the economy, more people or less students are going to college and more want to go into the workforce, create a huge demand. And now it's exploding, 1,500, almost 1,500 students got here, all right? And you, a lot of you looking at the sheets and said, well, why is my quota so low? Well, it's based on K-12 population and all that, which was, a formula that they use. And you're right. Some of these rich communities like Harvard, they don't want nothing to do with the voc tech. They're just going to send their kids to college. So it's a situation where the demand is there. We turn down, over 500 applicants a year. That's a lot of students, all right? And you're right, there's a lot of students in Gardner High that would like to come here, but they can't meet the grades, discipline issue, whatever the issues might be in terms of the admissions policy. So what John mentioned a little while ago, where the schools are getting together to come up with some ideas. And this MVP is a tremendous idea. And, hopefully Montachusett gets the recognition because everybody's looking at this model. And I used to work at Lowell High School, conglomerate. We sent the kids to Greater Lowell Technical. And they have this nightlife, program. It's totally different. And it's been doing it for 3-4 years, and it's not doing too well. This is a great model, MVP. So I could see where Jeff wants to say, hey, I want to get Athol kids down here. We all want our kids to come here that couldn't get, they're waitlisted, they couldn't come here. I'm getting calls from people in Westminster, hey, can you get my kid in? I go, I don't know, go try to talk to the Westminster rep, and first of all, we can't do it anymore. Back in the old days, say, hey, let's get this particular person in, Superintendent Brown or principal, I'm from Fitchburg, or I'm from here. What about Johnny? I got Johnny, he's a great kid for that place. Yeah, that's great back in the 1980s, but the demand is there. It's just, so, kudos to the MVP. Let's keep that going, and let's see if something really positive comes out of that. Other than that, and my last thing I'm going to say is I was driving in. Thank goodness that we have a parking spot for our school committee members. We would have never found a parking spot. I've never seen so many cars in that parking lot and all along here, never, of all the times. And I live in Fitchburg, I drive by the place, it's phenomenal. So a lot of other schools, basically jealous of you, of Montachusett, okay? So whatever you're doing, keep it up. Thank you. Oh, by the way, thank you for letting me go to the MASC. Bill, I'll put you on my Christmas list.
You have anything for it?
Thank you to Jada for the healthiest meal I've probably eaten this year.
Yes, that was good.
And also, please make sure you do sign the book if you can, because the business of running the business of our school has to keep going on every month. As we know, Tammy, you can't forget those. And I also just wanted to remind everybody, education reform happened too, not just the MCAS. It's not about measuring the students, it's about investing in our students. You gotta put the money where your mouth is. You can't just take the test and say, did they meeting it or not? We gotta put the money in as a state, we did that. And measuring kids is someone's perception of if they're intelligent or not. I don't know if it's the correct one.
Ashley?
Okay, well, I'm Ashley Hadmack, if you don't know who I am. I went to Montachusett, graduated in 2020, so I had a different type of graduation, but Montachusett definitely pulled out for my class, and I definitely appreciate that we were able to still cross the stage as the class of 2020. I'm currently I was in culinary arts. I am still serving and hoping to go back to school. We'll see where things lie, but thanks for the welcome, everyone. Happy to be here.
Melanie? Just real quick, I want to kind of touch on what Eric was saying about the MCAS. At Narragansett in the late 90s, before the MCAS became graduation requirement, they still actually gave it for a few years, and Narragansett was in the bottom 10% of the state. And over the next, actually took about 10 years, but we went from the bottom to level 1 schools with Ivy League acceptances. And I don't know that the impetus would have been there to do that if not for the MCAS. So I think it does have a positive role to play. No, I'm just,
Nice try. Nice try.
okay, do we have any correspondence or reports? No? Okay, we're going to executive session, and based on my determination that the discussion on open session will be detrimental to the bargaining position of the school committee, I'm seeking a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining proposal that the MTA has made to represent paraprofessionals and cafeteria workers. Do we have a motion?
Yeah. Move to go into executive session for the purpose of discussion strategy with respect to the collective bargaining proposal that the MTA has to represent the paraprofessionals and cafeteria workers.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, that vote requires a
Full vote.
roll call vote.
I didn't get a second, who was it?
Mr. Rain. Now, do we need to do a voice vote, or can you?
Call.
Supposed to be a voice vote.
Okay. All right, we'll start here. Mrs. Swenson?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Yes.
Whitney?
Yes.
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 Oliver, yes? Mr.
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.